welcome back to my channel. It's Cozy Crochet Monster, and today we're going to be learning the granny square stitch. So this is a little bit different from what we've been doing in the past, learning basic stitches. This kind of combines a few and creating like a design, but it's also a very helpful stitch to learn because you can make so many things out of granny squares. So if you don't know what a granny square looks like, so this is what a granny square looks like. So they are square. This one's a little bit wonky, but they're used for blankets. You can make them with purses, you can make bags, you can make, who knows, you can make anything with them. Because they're square, you can design stuff using it in that way, but they're also very customizable. So this one, I have some variegated yarn, so it switches color. I have some just solid colors, but I made it in a cool way, and I have this really cool blanket I'm making out of them. So this is what a granny square looks like. For today, we won't be making them this big, just because it's a lot, but if you can look closely, and you might not be able to tell, but the granny square stitch consists of 3 double crochets, which you guys know. It also consists of a chain in between. So it's a little bit different. It also uses our magic circle, so you'll be able to use that, and uses chains, double crochets, and magic circles. So it's a good starter project once you understand those stitches, and you can, keep building, and you can make something out of it. So this is our first actual project. So for that, today you're going to be needing your crochet hook. I'm just going to be using my trusty 5mm. You're going to be using some yarn. So I have 2 balls of Big Twist Value in, I think, pale yellow and soft gray. You do not need entire balls. It takes very little yarn to make granny squares. The amount you make depends, but I'm just using these 2 new balls of yarn. I really like the colors. And then you will also need, finally, we're going to be using our scissors and our needle to sew in our ends, okay? We're actually gonna use it. We're gonna create a project, yay! Okay, so going back to the yarn, I will be showing you today how to switch colors. So this is also a very good, tool to use. You will be, in future projects, you'll be switching yarn depending on where you'll be using different techniques to do it, but I'm going to be showing you in a granny square, so there's a couple of ways to do that, and I'll be showing that to you. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to be starting with my yellow, so I'm just going to pull some yarn out of there so I can work with it. Okay, so we're going to be starting with our cinch circle. So how we do this, also known as magic circle, is we're going to hold our yarn with our middle finger and thumb, and wrap it around like this and place it over, okay? I do have a video on increasing and the magic circle, which explain this if you need any more detail. So I'm going to insert my hook under the first strand, and then take the second strand and kind of turn it towards the top, so it went from upside down the hook to facing upward, so I have this little loop on my hook. Then I'm going to take it off gently and chain 1. Okay, so now I have my circle I can work in. So for a double crochet, since that's what the granny square stitch is made of, we're going to chain 3. So 1, oops, do that again. 1, 2, 3. So that is the, if you remember from the double crochet stitch, that is the height of a double crochet stitch. So we're going to double crochet, so yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, then yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through the last 2. So that is 1 double crochet. We're going to do 1 more. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and then yarn over, pull through the last 2. So in a granny square, we always use our chain 3 and count it as a double crochet, okay? So this is the little shell stitch of 3 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 2. So whenever we make a corner, we're going to be chaining 2. Then we're going to make a shell again. So that consists of 3 double crochet this time. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And just do that twice more. Okay, and there's my shell stitch. Going to chain 2, and that's going to be my corner. Then we're going to make a shell again. Okay, so you might be seeing something really cool. So we're starting to get this kind of squared effect because of our chain 2. So we're going to chain 2 again, and we're going to crochet our last shell. So I just tightened it up a little bit so the loop kind of fit. It wasn't too big, but make sure you're working over your tail and the loop. So working over both of those so you can cinch it shut. So one more shell, which is 3 double crochet. Okay, just like that. Now we're going to chain our final 2 to finish up that corner, and we're going to insert our hook and slip stitch. So what we're going to do is on top of the chain 3, so you can have 1, 2, 3. It also will look like a stitch. We're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through our loop again, and that is a slip stitch. So that's a new stitch to you guys. It's pretty simple. It's just to join your row, and that's what we'll be using that to join our row. So look at that, you guys. You made the center of your granny square, okay? Just like that. So we're going to slip stitch again into the next stitch and into the next one. So we should have slip stitched across our shell, our first shell. And we're going to slip stitch into this big loop. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then just pull through your loop on your hook, okay? So now we're going to be working into this space. So we're going to be working a corner. That consists of a shell, a chain 2, and another shell. Okay, so chain 3 to start out with. So this is going to be built so we can build up and work our double crochet. You're gonna work 2 double crochet, then we're going to chain 2. Let me grab some more yarn, and then we're going to make another shell. So that's going to be 3 double crochet. And there's your first corner. So this looks a little funky at first because you're kind of building off and it looks a little weird, but it's okay. Okay. Next, we're going to chain 1 in between. So every time in between just a regular shell or a corner, you're going to chain 1 to give it a little bit of space so we can work into that space next round. So we're going to double crochet into this next space. We're going to double crochet twice more, so a total of 3, which equals a shell. So like that. We're going to make another corner, so chain 2, and then make 1 more shell. So that's another corner. Chain 1, make a shell, chain 2, make a shell, all on the same stitch, or in the same space. And then for our final corner, need some more yarn. Chain 1, and then double crochet 3 times. Chain 2, double crochet 3 more times. So we have a shell, chain 2, shell, And then in between our stitches, we're going to chain once more and slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. So insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through like that. And that is your first 2 rows of your granny square. Okay, so I'm going to change colors for this next row. So I'm going to grab my gray, just so I'm ready. So one way of doing this is to entirely cut off your yarn and put a slip stitch on your hook and slip stitch to join, which is one way of doing it, and you can definitely do that. I'm going to show you to do that just because it's easier for a beginner, but you could also slip stitch across like you usually do, and then slip stitch but use the gray, which I'll show you first, and then I'll go back and cut off because I think that's sometimes cleaner. So slip stitch into your next stitch, and then slip stitch again, and then into your space. So you're just going to insert your hook. Instead of yarning over with the yellow, you're going to take your gray. So this can be a little bit tricky, and this is why I don't really recommend for beginners. You're going to slip stitch, so yarn over and pull through, and then pull through the yellow. So this gives you a gray loop without interfering with the yellow base. So then you can chain 3 and continue working. So you can't really tell that you switched colors. So that works, and you can definitely do that if you're comfortable with doing it. But it can be a little tricky because you have to hold it on and then make sure you tie in those ends and tighten it to make sure it doesn't fall out. And it can be tricky. I eventually kind of use that, but for this purpose, for today, I'm just going to show you to, oops, I'm going to take that out. Just cut your yarn and join with a new. Okay. I am really messing that up. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to take my scissors, open up like that. These kind of suck, but I'll see if I can use them. So you want to give yourself a little bit of tail, like 1 inch or 2, just so you can sew it in later. Ooh, they actually cut. They don't usually do that. You're being nice to the camera today. So give yourself 1 inch or 2, just so when you pull through, you have a nice thread to, work in. And so I just showed you that really quickly, but basically you're just taking your loop on your hook, yarning over and pulling it through and pulling it like that, okay? So that is totally detached. So this is how we will end our granny square. So you can make yours this big if you would like. I'm gonna make mine a little bit bigger just to show you how to keep building, because we'll be working a shell without a corner. So I just want to show you how that works. So for this, we're going to make a slip knot. Put it on our hook like that. And then we're going to slip stitch onto it, or into it. So we're going to insert our hook and use the gray to slip stitch, which can be a little funky. That's not terrible. Okay. So now I have my yarn attached. So this does look a little weird because of the slip stitch and the knot in the thread, but you can sew it in and it'll look fine. For now, I just have to move all of those away and kind of hold it. So now you have your slip stitch. You're going to chain 3 to be in your row. And so for this, so in the center stitches, so anything but the corners, you're just going to work 1 shell. So chain 3 and double crochet twice. Oops, I need some yarn. Okay, so that's what the shell looks like. Then we're going to chain 1, make a shell in the corner stitch, chain 2, and make another shell. Just like that. Chain 1, make 1 shell in the center space, got a little tangle. So sometimes this happens when you're working from the center of your yarn. I'm just doing that. I don't typically do it. I work from the outside because it tangles less, but just so it stays on my table, it's not going anywhere, and it's a little bit cleaner just for recording. But so I need one more to make my shell. Like that. Chain one, make your corner. So you can kind of feel a pattern coming. And the next thing, which I love about granny squares, is once you understand the pattern, it's so flowy and you can move fast and you can just kind of go. You know what you're doing, your hands just fly. I really love that about the granny square. So chain one, shell, chain one, corner, shell, chain two, shell. Chain one, oops, make a shell, that was my stomach. Okay, chain one and then make a corner. Oops, add some more yarn. Okay, you're going to chain one and slip stitch into that chain three. Just like that. Okay, you got another row down. So you can take your fingers and kind of pull it like that, just to make sure it has a nice square shape. So, that is the granny square. The nice thing about the granny square is you can count the rows very easily. So you can go shell, space, shell. Or you could count the corner edges, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can just go across like a diagonal, count the shells. Here, I'll show you on this bigger one. So I know I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is a 7-row granny square, and this is a 3-row. So that is it for today. I hope you found it very helpful, and hopefully you will start making little projects using granny square. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!